Brothers and sisters of Africa, and all children of the Black world. Today, we gather around a conversation that transcends borders, time, and politics. A conversation rooted in our very essence, the struggle for dignity, sovereignty, and the reclamation of our destiny. Our title, African Sovereignty, Lumumba's Pen and Traoré's Sword. It's not just poetic, it is prophetic. It carries within it the twin forces that shape revolutions, the power of the word and the courage of action. On one hand, we have Professor PLO Lumumba, a voice that has pierced through the noise of compromise and mediocrity, calling out Africa's betrayal of herself and demanding accountability from leaders and citizens alike. His pen is not ink on paper, it is fire on conscience. His speeches awaken sleeping minds. His activism challenges systems, and his intellect becomes a weapon of liberation to the African people. On the other hand, we have President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, the young revolutionary soldier who embodies a new kind of African defiance. At only 34 years old, he rose not with fear, but with audacity to declare that Africa's destiny will no longer be written in foreign capitals, but forged on African soil by African hands. His sword is not merely a weapon of war. It is a symbol of courage, of standing firm, of taking risks for freedom. Together, the pen and the sword reflect Africa's eternal struggle, the battle of ideas and the battle of action.
Strength of Africa TV presents.
From the ashes of chains we are breaking, through the fire of truth we are waking. Lumumba's pen lights the path we must tread. Words of freedom echo where heroes bled. Africa will rise, no more disguise.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Depending on where you are at this moment, I still remain your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled African Sovereignty, Lumumba's Pen and Traoré's Sword. To understand Lumumba's activism, we must first understand the power of the word. In Africa's history, words liberated us before armies did. Words united tribes into nations. Words reminded enslaved Africans that chains could not bind their spirits. Professor PLO Lumumba has carried this tradition forward. He speaks of Pan-Africanism, of economic liberation, of political responsibility. He speaks to the hearts of Africans who feel betrayed by leaders who have become comfortable in the arms of neo-colonial powers. His pen, his lectures, his speeches, his writings have done what many armies could not do. They awaken millions at once. He challenges the youth. You are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow begins today. He confronts corruption. Africa is not poor, it is poorly governed. He calls for unity. We are not 54 weak states, but one great people. Lumumba activism is intellectual warfare. His battlefield is the university hall, the conference stage, the open-air rally. His weapons are metaphors, proverbs, and the fierce truth. In him, Africans hear the echoes of Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, and Kwame Nkrumah, leaders whose words inspired revolutions. And in him, Africans see that the struggle is not over. Colonialism may have changed its clothes, but it still lingers in contracts, in debts, and in policies. Lumumba's pen exposes this truth. Now, if Lumumba represents the fire of ideas, Ibrahim Traoré represents the courage of action. In 2022, the young captain took power in Burkina Faso, not to enrich himself, but to rescue a nation suffocating under insecurity, under corruption, and under foreign interference. At only 34, he declared a new dawn. Many thought him too young, too inexperienced, but history has always favored the bold. His sword is symbolic. It represents his refusal to bow to external dictates. When he speaks with fire in his eyes and steel in his voice. He challenges France and other foreign powers who have fed fat on African resources. He insists that Burkina Faso belongs to Burkina Babe, not to multinational corporations or global institutions. He places Africa's dignity above personal comfort, saying he would rather die standing for Africa than live kneeling before foreign masters. Traoré has inspired millions across the continent. He's not just a president, he has become a symbol of African defiance. In him, many see the incarnation of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's fallen hero. But beyond this species, Traoré represents something deeper, the hunger of a new generation that refuses to accept Africa's change as destiny, a generation willing to risk everything for sovereignty. Individually, the pen and the sword are powerful. Together, they are unstoppable. History teaches us that revolutions need both. The ideas of Nkrumah needed the courage of soldiers who fought colonial armies. The vision of Mandela needed the arms of Nkoto Wesize, that is, servant of the nation. The philosophy of Marcus Garvey needed the defiance of the masses in the streets. Today, PLO Lumumba's activism and Ibrahim Traoré's leadership are not isolated. They are two currents of the same river. Lumumba awakens the people's minds. Traoré acts on that awakening. Lumumba explains the disease of neo-colonialism. Traoré takes the scalpel and cuts it out. Lumumba calls out Africa's betrayer. Traoré responds with a vow to end the betrayer. Together, they send a clear message. Africa must think and Africa must act. The story of Lumumba and Traoré is not about two men. It's about a continent at a crossroads. Everywhere you turn, you hear it. Africa is rising. But rising to what? Rising for who? If we rise only to serve the same systems that keep us poor, then we are not rising. We are being lifted to serve others. The new generation of Africans is restless. They hear Lumumba's words. They feel Traoré's courage. They are tired of leaders who fly to Europe and America for validation. They are tired of seeing Africa's gold, oil, and diamonds leave the continent while our children die in poverty. This new generation is saying, enough of puppet governments, enough of borrowed dreams, enough of colonial languages dividing us, enough of debts that were never ours. The youth are demanding a new future where Africa is respected as equal, where resources serve Africans first, where education is not about memorizing Europe's past, but about building Africa's tomorrow. Lumumba and Traoré embody this demand. They are signals to the youth that the time is now. Africa will rise, not by magic, not by waiting for others, but by the deliberate will of our people. Lumumba's pen reminds us that words shape reality. Traoré's sword reminds us that courage secures freedom. Together, they show us that ideas without action are powerless, and action without vision is blind. We must therefore unite thought and courage. We must read, learn, and awaken. But we must also act, resist, and reclaim. Let this be the message, my people. Africa is not poor. Africa is powerful. Africa is not broken. Africa is unshaken. Africa is not waiting. Africa is rising. And as long as there are pens like Lumumba's and swords like Traoré's, Africa's destiny will not be written by others. It will be written by Africans, for Africans, and for generations yet unborn, because truly Africa will rise. I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this has been Strength of Africa TV production. If you found value in this conversation, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Watch out for the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, tell your own story, because Africa's future is written in African ink. Stay rooted, stay bold, stay African. And thank you for watching. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Arise about children of the sun. Our story's not over, it's just begun. From Timbuktu to the streets of Soweto, Africa speaks and the world must echo. Strength of Africa, we stand strong. In our declare the truth, we break the wall. Up from the roots to the skies, we rise again. This is our voice, let the world hear men. Strength of Africa TV.